at sa ating mga magigiting at bayaning frontliners at sa lahat ng mga nanonood ngayon. Thank you po for taking the time to learn the latest updates regarding the your government's measures to address the COVID-19 outbreak. Unang-una, I would like to assure the public that the government continues to work to ensure that supplies of produce and food essentials remain stable during the enhanced community quarantine. Alinsunod sa kautusan at direktiba ng ating mahal sinisigurado po ng gobyerno na hindi tayo mauubusan ng pagkain at bigas sa gitna ng ECQ. Para tuloy-tuloy po ang daloy ng agricultural cargo, in-extend po ng Department of Agriculture ang validity ng 91,274 food passes na ibinigay sa mga trucker at supplier ng pagkain. To ensure continued access to affordable rice, the Department of Agriculture has directed the NFA to buy palay at 21 pesos to beef up the NFA's 30-day buffer stock. According to the Department of Agriculture, the country should have sufficient rice supply good for 84 days by the end of June. Bukod dito, tinutulungan po ng Department of Agriculture ang 114,649 na magsasaka at mangingisda sa ilalim ng Sure Aid at Recovery Project. Mga maliliit at mahirap na mga mangingisda at magsasaka ang tinutulungan natin dito. Kasama po ng Department of Agriculture sa pagpapaabot ng tulong pinansyal ang Department of Labor and Employment at Department of Social Welfare and Development. The DSWD reports that as of yesterday, it was able to distribute an additional 1.3 billion pesos worth of emergency subsidies to 236,331 low-income, non-4Ps beneficiaries or families, on top of the 3.72 million 4Ps beneficiaries that have already received assistance. The DSWD has also extended, as of yesterday, 65 billion pesos worth of emergency subsidies to 1,228 LGUs for disbursement to assistance to individuals in crisis situation beneficiaries. Ngayon po, ang data ng Social Amelioration Program ay nasa 71,215,745,250 pesos na po ang naibigay sa 1,648 LGUs. And this is for the Social Amelioration Program. So, sa 71.215 billion pesos na na-distribute na po sa LGUs, malapit na po tayo sa 90% accomplishment ang sa Social Amelioration Project or Program ng DSWD. Kaya po tuloy-tuloy po ang panawagan namin sa mga LGUs na hindi pa po nagko-comply at hindi pa naibigay yung sa Social Amelioration Program, pakipirmahan na po ng inyong Memorandum of Agreement at pakibigay na rin po ng inyong budget proposal sa DSWD sa lalong madaling panahon para maibigay na rin po sa inyo ang Social Amelioration Program para inyo na rin pong ma-distribute sa inyong mga constituents. Para po mapabilis ang paglabas ng ayuda, sinabi po ng DSWD na tinanggal na po sa prerequisite ng pagbigay ng ayuda ang validation stage para agad mabigay yung 5,000 pesos to 8,000 pesos na Social Amelioration Program Cash Aid sa mga pamilyang nangangailangan. So under the amended measure, yung validation of beneficiaries will be conducted after the payout of the subsidies. Sa ganitong parahan, yung LGUs will be able to proceed with the distribution of the cash aid within 24 hours upon receipt of the funds from DSWD. So pag nagbigay na po ng DSWD sa mga LGUs, dahil almost 90%, halos more than 88% na po ng LGUs ay nakatanggap na po nung pera at ayuda mula sa DSWD para ipamahagi sa ating mga constituents, within 24 hours po ay dapat i-distribute na po ng LGUs yan sa mga beneficiaries ng Social Amelioration Program. Yung validation to follow na lang po para mapabilis na natin ang distribution. Ngayon, pagdating naman po sa ating mga manggagawa, nireport po ng Department of Labor and Employment na nabigyan na po ng ayuda ang 236,412 na mga manggagawa sa ilalim ng COVID-19 Adjustment Measures Program or CAMP. Nais ko lang po i-announce na tuloy po nating tutulungan ang ating mga manggagawa. Pero sa ibang programa naman, ito ang Small Business Wage Subsidy o SBWS program na iro-roll out po ng Department of Finance. Ito na po yung nabanggit namin noon na programa para sa mga middle income. So, ano po yung SBWS? Ang SBWS ay programa ng gobyerno na magbibigay ng ayuda sa 3.4 milyong empleyado ng 1.5 milyong small businesses nationwide na apektado ng quarantine. The total budget for this initiative is 51 billion pesos. Bale sa programang ito, may matatanggap na 5,000 to 8,000 pesos ang bawat empleyado bawat buwan na ibibigay sa loob ng 2 buwan. Okay? Kahit po ang mga empleyadong nakatanggap na ng ayuda mula sa camp ng DOLE ay maaari ring tumanggap ng ayuda sa SBWS, pero ayon sa DOF, sila ay eligible lamang para sa 1 buwan. Hindi pwede yung 2 buwan dahil lugi naman po yung nakatanggap na sila sa camp. So 1 month na lang po para sa SBWS. Ngayon, sino ang maaring mag-apply? Ang mag-apply po ay yung mga small business employers para sa kanilang mga empleyado sa pamamagitan ng my.sss account. Ulitin ko po, ang mag-a-apply po ay yung mga employers para sa kanilang mga empleyado. Hindi ang mismong empleyado ang mag-a-apply po. So, sino po ang eligible para sa programang ito? Qualified po ang mga sumusunod: small businesses, o lahat ng hindi kasama sa listahan ng BIR Large Taxpayers Service. Yung mga maliliit na negosyo na napilitang magsara pagsamantala o magsuspinde ng trabaho dahil sa ECQ o pinayagang mag-operate gamit ang skeleton workforce. Lahat ng apektadong small businesses ay tutulungan. Ngunit, ang unang makakatanggap ng tulong na ito ay yung mga negosyong sumusunod sa patakaran ng SSS at BIR. So, sila muna yung unahin natin, no? Kasi, mas yung sistema nila, integrated na sa SSS at BIR. So, mas madaling makapture dahil nandun na po yung platform, nandun na yung sistema. So, mas madaling unahin muna natin itong lahat ng ito na registered sa SSS at BIR dahil captured na po natin. Next batch na lang po yung hindi captured nung sistema ng SSS at BIR. Ano naman ang kwalifikasyon para sa mga empleyadong tatanggap nito? Una, dapat nagtatrabaho sila sa isang eligible na small business. Pangalawa, aktibong empleyado ang sa nasabing small business hanggang March 1, 2020. Ngunit, hindi nakatanggap ng sweldo ng 2 linggo o higit pa dahil sa pansamantalang pagsara ng negosyo. At pangatlo, kahit anong contract or employment status, halimbawa, regular, probationary, regular seasonal, project-based, fixed term. Pang-apat, sertipikado ng employer na pasok sa criteria na nabanggit ko na kanina. Pag ang empleyado sa isang negosyo ay makakatanggap ng ayudang ito mula sa gobyerno, 2 po ang kondisyon para sa small business. Para sa small business, hindi nila pwedeng tanggalin sa trabaho ang empleyadong nakatanggap ng wage subsidy. Para naman sa empleyado, hindi siya maaring mag-resign sa loob ng ECQ period. Dahil po ang purpose naman itong programang ito ay para hindi mawalan ng trabaho ang ating mga empleyado. Kaya, nandyan po yung 2 kondisyon na yan. Now, para malaman po ng isang employer kung pre-qualified siya, pwede pong pumunta sa BIR website at i-click ang SBWS icon. Pag kayo naman po ay qualified, pumunta lang kayo sa SSS website para mag-apply at gamitin nyo po ang inyong my.sss account. Okay? The application period for the SBWS is from April 16 to 30, while the distribution of the first tranche will be from May 1 to 15. Yung second tranche po may be released between May 16 to 31 depending on the ECQ. So, dahil sa programang ito, maraming salamat po sa Department of Finance na naghanap ng pera para dito, ang BIR at yung SSS. As the IATF repeatedly stresses, improving our testing capabilities is one of government's top priorities. Yesterday, we announced that we have 16 testing centers nationwide, and the DOH reports that more will be operational soon once they are certified. To complement these efforts, the Department of Science and Technology, DOST, has announced that it will set up sample collecting booths nationwide to facilitate government's expanding testing efforts. As part of this initiative, the regional offices of DOST will partner with the Department of Health in setting up the specimen collection booths across the country. Initially, the DOST plans to set up at least 132 specimen collection booths in different regions nationwide. Kaya maraming salamat po sa DOST at sa Department of Health. Another priority of government is to prevent COVID-19 from spreading. And a key component of this effort is restricting the movement of the general populace. Yan po ang purpose ng ECQ. Simple lang po ang prinsipyo nito. Pag nasa bahay po kayo, hindi kayo mahahawa. At kung kayo naman po ay may sakit pero walang sintomas, di din kayo makakahawa ng iba. The President himself has acknowledged that this has not been easy for all of us. Kahit si Presidente, inamin niya na naiinip na siya. Kahit ako, aminin ko na, Bago po mag-ECQ, hindi ko po alam anong ibig sabihin ng LDR. Di kasi uso ang shortcut ng panahon namin. Long distance relationship pala. This term, well, used to apply to lovers or couples who remain together despite their long distance relationship. Now it applies to all of us. Lahat po tayo may LDR with our families, may LDR with our friends, may LDR with our co-workers. Pati ako, may LDR na rin ako with mga kaibigan natin sa media. Pero ginagawa natin itong lahat para hindi tayo makakahawa ng iba. Ako, ginagawa ko to para hindi mahawa yung mga kaibigan na natin sa media. Okay? But the importance of social distancing is the rationale behind PNP's efforts to strictly enforce the ECQ. Now, to put things in context, according to the PNP Joint Task Force COVID Shield, they've already set up mobile checkpoints in EDSA and other major thoroughfares of Metro Manila, following multiple reports of violations of ECQ. These mobile checkpoints inside Metro Manila are manned and supervised by personnel of the PNP Highway Patrol Group, who are tasked to check if private vehicle owners are complying with the guidelines of the ECQ. Nakikipag-ugnayan po sila ngayon sa MMDA para sa pagtatag ng mga mobile checkpoints sa iba't ibang lugar dito sa Metro Manila. The PNP HPG personnel manning the mobile checkpoints within Metro Manila will be tasked to check if the driver of the private vehicle is allowed to go outside of his house under the ECQ guidelines or falls under the list of exemptions that were previously announced by the IATF. We recognize that we have to find ways to expedite or speed up passage through these checkpoints for people who are allowed to leave. As of yesterday, at least 200 scanners are now being used in the various quarantine control points or QCPs in Metro Manila as part of the expansion of the implementation of our online identification system called Rapid Pass, which we already launched and announced earlier. This system seeks to expedite the movement of our health workers and other frontliners amid the strict implementation of the enhanced community quarantine. The 200 scanners were already distributed to 48 QCPs or quarantine control points, mostly located at the boundaries of Metro Manila and the provinces of Laguna, Rizal, Cavite, and Bulacan, where most Metro Manila workers come from. The implementation of the Rapid Pass system is expected to address the long queues of private and non-cargo vehicles at the QCPs, as policemen and soldiers manning the control points will no longer need to individually check the identification cards and other home quarantine exemption documents of the occupant. Alalahanin din po natin na itong rapid pass system na ito also protects our policemen and soldiers. Dahil kung isa-scan lang nila ng kanilang QR scanner, actually sa cellphone yun naka-download dun sa cellphone. Pag scan nila, hindi na nila kailangan hawakan yung ID, hawakan yung papeles, tapos magkahawaan. No? Now, kung mahaba man ang pila sa mga checkpoint, pakiusap po sa ating mga kababayan, habaan din po natin ang ating pasensya. Please be patient with our law enforcement officers as they are just doing their jobs. Ika nga, trabaho lang, walang personalan. They have been directed to be strict because being lax will obviously have dire consequences for all of us. let us keep in mind that our policemen and women are frontliners too. And they are also vulnerable to infection in the course of them just doing their jobs. According to the PNP, there are already 59 PNP personnel who have contracted the virus. And it's very, very sad to note na 3 po sa mga na-infect na police ay pumanaw na po. So, let's appreciate also the work that they're doing. But despite the risks, the police continue to do their duty 24/7 to keep us all safe. Not only that, they've actually gone beyond the call of duty and have raised 69.1 million pesos from uniformed personnel and civilian employees for the Team PNP Bayanihan Fund, which seeks to augment the national government's cash subsidy and social amelioration programs to assist poor families affected by the ECQ. Kaya sa ating mga kapulisan, mga kasundaluhan, our men in uniform, maraming salamat po. The 3 PNP personnel whose lives were lost to COVID-19 are not the only losses we mourn. Kasama po dito ang mga doktor at medical health workers na nagkasakit habang ginagampanan ang kanilang tungkulin. Heroes who lost their lives on the front lines of our battle against this disease. I said the other day that today's heroes wear white. Dadagdagan ko po, our heroes also don and represent our country's colors. One of them is Ambassador Bernardita Catalia, who succumbed to the disease while serving as our country's representative to Beirut. In her honor, the Philippine Floods in all DFA offices in the Philippines and abroad will be flown at half-mast. Yesterday, 13 lives were claimed by COVID-19. This brings the total number of deaths in our country to 362. Umabot na po sa 5,660 ang nahawa sa COVID-19 sa buong bansa. Kahapon po, may 207 na bagong kaso. But, as Mahatma Gandhi once said, in the midst of death, life persists. In the midst of darkness, light persists. Kahapon, 82 po ang nakarecover sa COVID-19. Lahat-lahat, 435 na po ang nakarecover sa sakit na ito. Yesterday was the 5th straight day that the number of daily recoveries had increased. For this, we again thank all the medical personnel who tirelessly work to treat the sick at the risk of their own safety. Kahapon ang ikalimang sunod-sunod na araw kung saan nakapagtala tayo ng pagtaas sa bilang ng mga gumagaling sa karamdaman. Maraming salamat po sa ating mga doktor, nurse, at sa lahat ng mga healthcare workers at frontliners po natin. We need to stress, however, that all of us can play a role in influencing the numbers we in government report every day. Lahat po tayo may maambag para pababain ang bilang na nagkakasakit at namamatay dito sa COVID-19. Kailangan lang po natin na sundin ang payo ng ating mga doktor, manatili sa ating tahanan at huwag lumabas kung di kailangan. Magsuot ng mask, maghugas ng kamay, bahay muna, buhay muna. Sama-sama, magtatagumpay po tayo laban sa COVID-19. Together, we heal as one. Maraming salamat po. At magandang umaga po muli. Ngayon, mabasahin ko na po yung mga katanungan mula sa media. From Vance Fernandez of Police Files Tonight, BZRJ. As we know, health workers working in the front line are paid extra compensation. With this, will media personnel also receive the same compensation, knowing that they're also directly at risk of exposure to infection in the front line? Pwede naman natin pag-usapan to, pwede naman natin pag-isipan ito. Pero kailangan isipin natin because sa amin, okay lang naman, but some sectors kasi might say, yeah, I'm just thinking out loud, but some sectors naman might say na paano natin hindi ma-compromise yung neutrality ng media if government now starts, shelling out funds, and giving it out to media. So, but, if you want further discussion on this, pwede naman natin pag-usapan. From Ruth Hita Carlos, Philippine News Agency. Can you expound on President Duterte's stand that the distribution of emergency subsidies could have been easier had the national ID been implemented and unopposed by leftists? Siguro naintindihan naman natin na from a management point of view and logistics point of view, kung meron po tayong national ID, then number one, may listahan naman po tayo ng sino yung mga poor and marginalized families. So, gamit yan, mas madali po yung distribution dahil lahat po ng mga Pilipino ay may ID. So, in terms of distribution mechanism, mas madali kasi the ID na nga. In terms of validation, the ID na rin. So, mas madali rin for government to validate kung sila rin po ba ay yung nakatanggap, At hindi na natin kailangan magbigay pa ng mga social amelioration cards. At kung high-tech naman yung ID natin, and it is integrated into an ICT system, then mas madali rin po yung pag-track, ng mga nabigyan na ng social amelioration program. In fact, sometimes in some more developed countries, they can use yung national ID also to claim assistance from government. So, ibig sabihin, if the ID is so high-tech na it has a chip, or it is integrated into the banking system, it may even act as a debit card. So, pwedeng hindi na po cash ang ibibigay, kundi i-load na lang po yung ID that acts as a debit card para sa pagbili ng mga kagamitan, supplies, groceries, or mamamalengke, kung well integrated yung whole system, banking system, then i-charge lang dun sa parang debit card ng national ID if it's that high-tech. Some countries are doing that. So, marami yung pwedeng use talaga ng national ID. At itong COVID-19, itong ECQ, just showed us how important a national ID system is. Sorry, nawala. From Jopel Pelenio of DWIZ. Ano po ang plan of action ng IATF sa dalawang airport security na nag-positive sa COVID-19? Ano po ang tulong na maibibigay ng IATF sa dalawang airport security dahil naka-total isolation na po sila Salamat po. Kasama naman namin sa IATF yung DOTR. So, ang Department of Transportation and its attached agencies are already acting on this. No? Marami po, sir, sa mga small-time pensioner ang nagtatanong kung bakit wala daw po silang natatanggap na assistance mula sa DSWD. Hindi daw po ba sila kasama sa cash amelioration program ng gobyerno? Salamat po. Based on the guidelines, nandun nakalagay kasi na pag senior citizen that is currently receiving pension ay hindi po kasama. So, kung ang tanong ay i-review ba ito at may pag-asa po ba, well, that's something na pwede nating pag-isipan. At the first thing we have to define is what counts as small-time pensioner, diba? So, anong level yung sinasabi na small-time pensioner? But because that is more within the expertise at sa realm ng DSWD, we have to relay the question back to DSWD. From Chris Jose of Remate Online, reacts po sa sinabi ni ACT Teachers Party List Representative Franz Castro na hindi raw po dapat sisihin ang mga pasaway na Pilipino sa pagtaas ng kaso ng COVID-19. Ang pagiging incompetent at mabagal na pagtugon ng gobyerno sa COVID ang dahilan daw po ng pagtaas ng bilang ng kaso. Hindi raw po dapat pinapasa sa taong bayan kaya napasok ang virus dahil minaliit ang banta ng COVID-19 at bine-baby ang China. Kaya libreng lumalaganap ang virus dahil hanggang ngayon ay wala pang katotohanan mass testing at contact tracing na batay sa karanasan ng ibang bansa ay pinaka-epektibong paraan upang pababain ang mga na-infect at namamatay. Lahat po ng sinabi ni Rep. Castro ay ginagawa na po ng gobyerno, no? Yung wala po tayong ginawang pagmamaliit sa banta ng COVID-19. In fact, tayo po ang isa sa pinakaunang nag-declare po ng ECQ. So, nauna yung public health emergency, tapos nag-community quarantine, tapos nag-enhance community quarantine, tapos nag-declare tayo ng state of calamity. So wala po tayong pagkukulang in terms of our reaction. In fact, ang projection nga ng WHO is kung wala tayong ginawa na aksyon at a very early stage, we would have hit 75,000 infected. Ngayon, yung sa mass testing na sinasabi, na banggit ko na rin po kanina, no? Na number one, meron na pong kaugnayan yung programa ng DOST at DOH na magkaroon ng mga testing booths para sa pag-collect ng samples, tas dadalhin sa lab yun at dinadamihan na rin natin yung laboratories. Tapos, nag-utos na rin po si Pangulo na bumili na rin ng rapid test kits. At yan po ay ipapasok na rin natin sa ating health protocols yung paggamit ng rapid test kits in conjunction with the lab-based PCR tests. No? In the same manner, tinutulak na rin po natin na actually marami na rin nag-apply ng mga laboratories para sila po ay ma-accredit na maging PCR lab testing laboratories at ginagawa naman po natin yan. Yung sa contact tracing naman, we're already using mga apps at meron din po tayong apart from the contact tracing na nakaset up na po on the ground down to the LGU level, we're already utilizing mga ICT and mobile applications, and we're using and utilizing technology to be able to enhance yung ating contact tracing. Meron na rin po tayong mga quarantine facilities and isolation facilities na kung saan anybody na ma-contact trace natin, lalong-lalo na pag symptomatic, ay agad natin ina-isolate, test, and then health intervention agad. Then, kahapon, in-announce po natin dun sa IATF na bagamat the WHO actually only requires us to report PUIs, tayo po, we made a decision sa IATF na i-retain natin yung PUMs. Kasi ang gusto natin mangyari is kahit yung mga PUMs ay itetest din po natin, which is over and beyond the requirements ng WHO. So, ibig po sabihin, kung merong mga ginagawang mga patakaran and palisiya ang WHO, we even go beyond that. Diba? Kasi sabi nga, PUI saan tayo, hanggang PUMs, gusto rin natin i-test eh. So, palagay ko, wala namang pagkukulang po ang pamahalaan. Pero thank you for the suggestions, but we're already doing everything that nasabi po. From Belia Carriazo of Bandera, morning, ask ko lang po yung order ni President Duterte sa DILG na i-probe kung sino-sino ang sangkot sa sabong at inuman at meron pa ngang bingo sa isang barangay sa Maynila. Kapag ba na-identify kung sino ang mga ito, automatic hindi na sila kasama sa second tranche ng SAP ng government? Wala akong nakitang sa batas na ganito. Pero ang nakita kong batas, kung meron man magba-violate at nahuling nag-violate, no? Meron po tayo nandun nakalagay sa Bayanihan to Heal as One Act. Ang mga penalties na kasama po dyan. At kung babasahin niyo po, it's fine, no? I think 10,000 to million ba yun? Or imprisonment, or both. So, depende po. Matindi po ang nandun nakalagay sa batas na penalties for anybody who violates yung Bayanihan to Heal as One Act. So, meron po yung fine, meron pong multa, 2 months imprisonment for violation of the law, fine of 10,000 to 1 million pesos or both. So, mas matindi pa po dun sa sinasabing hindi sila makakatanggap ng second tranche. From Gerg Cahiles, CNN Philippines. What are the plans of government to the Filipino crew of cruise ships that are scheduled to dock at the Manila port in the coming days? Na-announce na po natin kahapon, di po ba? We will allow them, the foreign cruise ships, to dock, but mandatory 14-day quarantine at babantayan po ng pamahalaan ang pagka-quarantine po nila habang sila ay nandun sa cruise ship. Meaning to say, kung ma-imagine mo yung ginawa natin pagbabantay sa mga nung unang pag-repatriate natin mula sa Wuhan, di ba, nilagay natin sa Athletes Village, tapos binantayan natin, minonitor natin, tapos kung may symptoms, agad dalhin sa ospital. So, the same protocols po ang gagawin natin. Pero yung kanilang venue for quarantine is dun sa foreign cruise ship, kung saan sila nandun na, no? From Clizel Pardilla, PTV, this is in connection with vehicular accidents involving frontliners who are using bicycles. Do you have any info on how many frontliners nationwide percent range are covered by libreng sakay? Department of Transportation po ang may figures. Ano ang plano action ng gagawin ng IATF to prevent frontliners vulnerability from road accidents, especially yung mga nagbibisikleta lang? Yung kasi, lahat po, down to the regional level, meron na pong equivalent ng IATF doon at meron na pong equivalent ng National Task Force COVID. So, tulad dito sa Metro Manila, no? Yung MMDA is kasama dyan. So, pagdating dito sa mga specifics on prevention of vulnerability, alam ko, like, for instance, NCR, MMDA was already, even before the ECQ, even before COVID-19, marami na silang hakbang na ginagawa to protect yung vulnerability ng mga pedestrians, ng mga those traversing sa roads, those who are using our roads within the NCR. So, ganun din po yung gagawin nila now na nasa ECQ tayo. So, yung vulnerability ng mga those who traverse and use our main thoroughfares and the roads will be under MMDA. From Patrick De Jesus, PTV, can you confirm if the IATF supports or backs the COVID-19 testing laboratory of Marikina City? Ano pong directive natin sa DOH para magamit na ang facility and how would it help sa testing capacity natin sa ngayon? As a general rule, the IATF fully supports the establishment and accreditation of all testing laboratories in the Philippines that will help us increase our testing capabilities and capacities. Necessarily, kasama na po dyan yung Marikina City. But, to tell you honestly, pinag-usapan namin yung Marikina City noong last IATF. Okay? At sinabi namin na paano ba natin, ano ba ang dapat natin gawin para ma-accredit na yan, ano ba yung paano natin gawing mga hakbang para mapabilis ang accreditation. Not just of Marikina City, but all, no? So, as a general rule, we really want to help our ITM, and DOH, and even DOH wants to help, no? Lahat naman tayo gusto natin pabilisin, but it's really a balancing of yung biosafety, dahil biohazard nga yung laboratory, and the speed of accrediting them. Okay, so that being said, syempre, yung sa Marikina kasi, malapit na sila sa finish line. So, meaning to say, konti na lang at ma-accredit na sila. Kaya siguro nagkaroon ng special discussion on Marikina City. Not that we're playing favorites here, but it's something that will also help guide us as policymakers. Okay? So ngayon, ang commitment naman po ng RITM is number one, they've been working naman 24/7. And number two, yun nga, 24/7 means say 7 days a week. So kahit Saturday at Sunday, nagtatrabaho yan sila. Ngayon, yung Marikina, ano na kasi yan malapit na malapit na silang maano. So, binilang namin, ilan pa ba ang kailangan na requirements nila? And how many days does it take for these requirements to be complied with and fulfilled? So, pagbilang namin, abot naman ng Monday. Granting and under the condition na yung personnel ng Marikina Laboratory papasa doon sa proficiency test. So there's a final test, there's a final exam which their personnel have to pass. Hindi na namin control yun. Kasi ibibigay yung test sa kanila. Correct? And kailangan pumasa sila without any aid from us. Ang tulong lang na pwedeng gawin ng gobyerno, ito, sige, fulfill natin to, sige, we'll help you here, ito, pabilisin natin, tutukan ito ng RITM at DOH, na lahat ng ito, subject to your compliance, ay mabigay. Okay, fine. Last step, exam. Alam naman, tayong sasagot ng exam nila, hindi naman natin pwedeng gawin yun. That's favoritism already at the most extreme, di ba? So, granting na maipasa nila lahat yan, pati yung exam, good to go na tayo. So, yun po. Ano lang, we just wanna dispel the notion na pinapahirapan o masyadong yung mga requirements, tedious yung mga requirements. Everybody passes through that. And nakatutok po tayo dun. 24/7 nagtatrabaho yung RITM and yung DOH. And everybody has to go through that. But, yun, tingnan ng IATF, ilang araw ba talaga to? Ilang araw? So, naging masinsinang discussion ito, ha? Not that we're playing favorites, but because it's something that will help guide policy. Okay. From Ariane Meres, ABS-CBN Online. 1. President Duterte warned of a martial law scenario if ECQ violations continue. How likely is it for the President to declare martial law? Will it cover the whole Philippines? Ang sinabi ni Pangulo naman kagabi is very clear. Martial law type. Meaning to say, parang sinasabi lang ni Pangulo, kung talagang magmamatigas, may mga pasaway, then we will really employ and ask the military to come in and help with the police. Parang ganun lang. That's what he means. But are we talking about martial law? Because that's your number 2 question. Is martial law now being considered by the IATF? Yung Constitution is very clear naman, no? In cases of invasion or rebellion. Okay? So, yun po. Pag wala naman yun, hindi naman yung martial law. But the President is only trying to emphasize to the people na he also has the ability to ask for the AFP and military to help impose order if need be. He has that power. So, warning lang sa mga violators at warning lang sa mga lumalabag at yung mga pasaway na umayos kayo, mag-behave. Let's keep order. Yesterday, presidential spokesman Harry Roque said a total lockdown is among the options. What's the IATF take on this? Actually, I don't know ano yung ibig sabihin ni spokesman Harry in terms of total lockdown, no? So, maybe we should ask him what the definition of total lockdown is because ECQ is already, no? Nasa ECQ na tayo. So, I don't know what that total lockdown is. So, to answer yung 4th question of what would a total lockdown look like and will it be limited to Luzon only if ever, wala pong we are not talking about that. So, among the 3, martial law, total lockdown, ECQ lifting, which is most likely to happen and why? Ang pinag-uusapan or ang ipepresent sa Monday ng small group na inutusan ni Pangulong Duterte made up of select group kasama yung economic managers is to talk about what happens after April 30. That will be presented to the IATF on Monday. And we will discuss what that scenario or possible scenario will be. What are the pros and cons? What we are ready to allow? What will be the new do's and don'ts? What would be the new guidelines? Etc. After April 30. So, ayokong pangunahan because sa Monday pa naman yan. Number 1. Number 2, whatever we discuss sa IATF, kung ano man yan, kung gagawin natin sa April 30, we will recommend that to the President. Ultimately, si Pangulong Duterte magde-decide doon sa recommendations natin. Okay. Number three, and this is probably where presidential spokesman Harry Roque is coming from, is it depends syempre on the situation on the ground. Mean to say, kung nagko-cooperate naman ang mga tao dito sa mga ginagawa natin, then it makes it easier for us to make the decision because everybody is cooperating. Pero kung hindi naman at mas maraming hindi nagko-cooperate, mas maraming pasaway, then who knows what the decision will be. Number one, it will be more difficult for us to come up with a decision kasi what good are imposing these guidelines if people don't follow naman? Something like that, di ba? Kaya siguro sinabi ni presidential spokesman na yun, maybe he's thinking of something stricter. Kaya patuloy yung aming panawagan sa taong bayan na make it easier naman for us to make the decisions. Because the decisions are based on our assumptions of how the Filipino people will behave and cooperate. Diba? So, minsan, when we make the decisions, sige, ito pwede natin gawin, ito pwede natin gawin, ito pwede natin gawin. That's based on the assumption that people follow the rules. People cooperate. But if they don't follow the rules, if they don't cooperate, it destroys all the assumptions, then the model is also destroyed. Naintindihan? Naintindihan nyo? Diba? Magawa kami ng assumptions, magawa kami ng mga possible scenarios, pero ang assumption po namin, sumusunod ang lahat. Pero pag hindi naman sumusunod ang lahat, sira yung ating assumption. So, sira yung ating senaryo. Kaya si Pangulo, mapasok siya at sinasabi niya, I will impose order. Kasi sinisira niyo ang lahat ng assumptions natin, nasisira yung projections natin. Ang projections po natin, pinag-uusapan na projections, yung ilan ang magkasakit, ilan ang ma-hospitalize, ilan ang gagaling, ilan mamamatay, ilan may infect. Masisira lahat yan kung may mga pasaway. Ganun lang kasimple yun. Can we, from Joseph Morong, GMA 7, can we shed light on what the President last night said about antibodies from horses? President Duterte also said that he has ordered the military and the police to be ready to take over the implementation of the ECQ. Is that what's going to happen? I wasn't with the President last night, so hindi ko alam yung context dun sa antibodies, no? Maybe somebody gave him some information about these antibodies, but I wasn't there last night, so hindi ko alam ano yung context. Yung order of the military and police to be ready to take over the implementation of the ECQ, I guess what he means lang is the police and military will become stricter sa implementation ng ECQ, or it could mean that they will play a bigger role in the implementation. Actually, kung tutuusin, kasi ang separate policy maker ang IATF, di ba? And then yung National Task Force, no? Then the National Task Force, tas yung Chief Implementer. So the National Task Force is si Secretary Del Lorenzana. Ang Vice Chair niya si DILG Secretary Anyo. So dun pa lang, sa structure na yan, is necessarily, ang nagagamit sa implementation would be our law enforcement agencies. Diba? From Daryl S. Guerra of INQ, President Duterte said last night that quarantine violators will not receive government aid. Yeah. Will this be a government policy now na kailangan ipatupad ng local officials? Kung President is the President, so he's the chief policy architect of the Philippines. Kami sa IATF, we will make policy, but we derive our directive, our ability to provide policy from the President. And if the President says something and that's his policy directive, then it must be followed. Kami sa IATF, ano lang kami, dinaderive namin yung powers namin and ang mandate namin to provide policy under these circumstances because we derive it from the President. The President is still the chief policy maker. From Angel Ronquillo, DZXL RMN, 2 beses na pong nadawit si Sec Duque sa kontrobersya. Bakit sa tingin niyo nasa kanya pa rin ang trust and confidence ni Pangulong Duterte? Alam niyo, ganito yan Si number 1, nakakapagtaka na nung lumabas yung resolution calling for the resignation of Secretary Duque. Nakakapagtaka na ang dami nang lumabas na mga pangalan, mga fina-float na mga pangalan na ipapalit sa kanya. Na sinasuggest, nire-recommend na ipapalit kay Secretary Duque. Okay. So, number 1, nakakapagtaka po na gano'n ang nangyari. Parang, kumbaga, wala. It's just katakataka, no? Na pagkatapos ng labas ng resolution, meron na agad mga pangalan na lumalabas na pwedeng pampalit na parang, kumbaga, wala. It's just very strange. Okay. That's number 1. Number 2, yung mga pangalan naman na pina-float, you know, when the news came out na ganyan-ganyan, may resolution, etc. Lahat kami sa cabinet uttered our 100% support kay Secretary Duque. Okay? And then, shortly after, President gave a decision na he will keep Secretary Duque. Okay. The reason why kami, personally, ang gusto namin kay Sec Pincoy Duque, he will tell it as it is. No ifs and buts yan. And in this crisis, what we're facing now, we have to make hard decisions. You have to make decisions on the go. Quick, decisive, hard decisions. At it helps us na nandyan si Secretary Duque because he will tell it as it is. Walang ano yan na baka we must be more sensitive dito or we must be... Wala. Talagang based on backed up by science and data, we have to make this hard decision. Yung ECQ natin, based on the recommendations of Sec Duque, yung pag sinabi na ganito ang mangyayari, ito yung data, ito yung evidence, we have to make these hard decisions, we have to impose this, we have to community quarantine, this pwede, this hindi. Kailangan ganyan Sa laban na ito, hindi ka pwede na, baka maging sensitive si ganyan, o baka magagalit si ganyan. Hindi pwede ganyan. And I think that's what the President appreciates. Because you have to tell it how it is right now. Walang sugarcoating, walang kaartehan. Kailangan ganito. And so far, the decisions tugma dun sa mga nakikita namin kahit sa ASEAN countries kahit sa Big Three. All of the decisions that were made came out to be, the right decisions. If we had not imposed a community quarantine immediately, if we had not done yung travel restrictions immediately, if we had not done this, we had not done that, magkatotoo yung sinabi ng WHO na 75,000 tayo infected COVID-19. So, ganun po, in this battle, alam nyo, magkakaroon ng missteps eh. Because, number one, it's novel. It's a new virus. Nobody, not the world doesn't even know how the virus operates, how it reacts, how it moves. Ngayon pa lang, unti-unti. Kaya sabi ng ASEAN, we must do information sharing. We must do best practices. We must do sharing of information and data, etc. Because all of us are somewhat blind. Ngayon pa lang unti-unti natin nare-realize at nakikita how the virus operates, how it reacts, what medicines to use. And up to now, wala pa tayong vaccine. So what I'm saying is, magkakaroon talaga ng missteps in any battle, whatever battle there is. But you have to keep moving. You have to keep making decisions. You have to keep going. Otherwise, ma-overtake ka ng virus. And we cannot be bothered by things like that. Kailangan tuloy-tuloy ang laban natin dito. Hindi tayo pwedeng stop and pause. Cannot. We cannot afford that. So, sinabi sa akin, cut na daw ako dahil mahaba na daw. Pero tutuloy pa rin natin kasi meron mo naman sa FB yata. At marami pang katanungan, no? So, tuloy na natin. From Tina Mendez of Philstar, apart from discussing ways to combat the virus and the economy, is the IATF looking at how the pandemic has affected the psychological makeup of the Filipinos during this time of crisis? How is the IATF addressing such issues like anxiety or depression? Yes. In fact, the DOH has arranged already for doctors, practitioners in the mental health, the mental health family to play an active role already. And in fact, those in the mental health practitioners have already on their own come up with initiatives already, no? On their own and with the support of the Department of Health. So yes, even from the get-go, sa umpisa pa lang, na-take into consideration na yung mental health dito sa laban na ito. It's very, very important that the mental health practitioners play a key role dito. No? There is an estimated 10.3 million overseas Filipino workers all over the world. They brought in around $30 billion in remittances last year. Hundreds of thousands of OFWs are likely to be displaced due to massive layoffs due to the COVID-19 crisis. What's the government's plan to cushion the impact on the economy of the big decline on the billion-dollar remittances that the OFWs bring into the country? Well, it's a balancing, no? Because number one, siguro, because of this crisis, what will happen, and you will see that, diba, na magkakaroon pa rin ng overseas Filipinos. But because the market is changing, the world is changing and adjusting because of the COVID-19, ang demand for overseas Filipino workers will be on industries that are still operating and being given priority by the respective countries. Kaya yung health sector will play a key role dito. IT sector will play a key role here. No? So some industries will flourish, some industries will go down. Ganun na mangyayari. So whatever it is, there will still be a demand for overseas Filipino workers out there. In fact, kita nyo naman, di ba? Yung nurses, doctors, healthcare workers na Filipino in demand na ngayon abroad. So we had to make a decision, etc., etc. That's just one part of the equation. So, mag-a-adjust ang world. And we saw that sa discussion ng ASEAN, even the ASEAN plus 3. Ang sinasabi nila, trade must go on. People-to-people exchange must go on. But necessarily, dahil nag-change, nag-adjust ng world, there will be industries that will rise. There will be industries that fall. Whatever it is, the skill of the overseas Filipino will still be in demand. But now we have to contend with balancing it na hindi naman tayo magkaroon ng brain drain din dito because we also need Filipinos in the forefront of this battle, di ba? So, ganyan yan. From Joyce Balancho, DZMN, if tanggalin ang validation phase sa social amelioration, hindi pa tinanggal. Nilagay lang po sa dulo. So, validation will still be there. But instead of it being a prerequisite, it is now post na yun, post. Para lang mapabilis yung distribution. At napagkasunduan na ito ng PSWD and the LGUs. So, okay na yan. Wala nang problema dyan. From Pia Gutierrez, ABS-CBN, what is the IATF's guidance on public solicitations? I know what your question is, no? Yung sa public solicitations, DSWD, etc. Pag-usapan namin yan today, and we'll come up with the guidelines.
Traction daw nito. Sino
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Wherever you are in the world, you are watching EBC international coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Jane Catherine Gregorio, coming to you from Corpus Christi, Texas. Tonight, we will hear from several of our correspondents across North America. A tale of two leaders, Trump and Trudeau, Thomas Likeness in Edmonton, Alberta, with the details in a little bit. Sabir Mufti, Ottawa, Ontario.
Tragedy due to COVID-19 strikes a small Canadian town's long-term care facility.
Ken Cruz, Fort Washington, Maryland.
Maryland governor states now is worth possible time to reopen state or lift restrictions.
El Aguilar, Elizabeth, New Jersey. Julianne Evangelista, Randolph, Massachusetts.
Baker Polito administration launches manufacturing emergency response team to support supply production.
Elmarie Gonzalez, South Haven, Mississippi.
Mississippi recovers from the widest tornado recorded in the history of the state. Meanwhile, shelter in place is due to end next week.
Valerie Gonzalez, Burbank, California.
Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti announces the Emergency Senior Meals Response Program.
Henry Nehru, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Stimulus payments are hitting people's bank account out.
Plus, a conversation with a surgical assistant who still goes to work 4 days a week, braving the virus scare so she can care for her patients. And today, Michael Hudson invites us to his kitchen once again, this time for some EBC stuffed bell peppers. For dessert, Andre Rio Tutar will bake a chocolate cake for us using only 2 ingredients. But first, an overview of how the world looks now. According to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University and Medicine, as of 5 p.m. Eastern Time, April 15, 2020, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 2,100,000. This includes more than 650,000 in the US and more than 30,000 in Canada. Sadly, this virus has claimed more than 141,000 lives worldwide. This number includes more than 30,000 deaths in the United States and more than 1,000 deaths in Canada. Our coverage begins with a tale of two leaders, Trump and Trudeau. Thomas Likeness in Edmonton with the story.
Howdy from Canada. As a homage to the Lone Star State, I've got my media pin here from the Calgary Stampede. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, the Stampede is probably one of the largest rodeos in North America, in the world, and certainly the greatest outdoor show in the world. Don't have my 10-gallon Stetson with me, but I do have the white hat tonight, so I must be one of the good guys. In the news tonight, a look at the contrast between the two countries on the either side of the 49th parallel. Canada and the United States have been best friends for pretty much all of the last couple of hundred years. Well, except for that one unfortunate time in the 1800s when the British sneaked down from Canada and burned down the White House, but just an unfortunate incident. But actually the relationship is probably more akin to a couple of brothers than best friends, because there seems to be that sibling rivalry where one wants the other to do something. In recent days, U.S. President Donald Trump has been musing about reopening the U.S. economy sooner rather than later. His Canadian counterpart, Justin Trudeau, takes a wait-and-see approach. While Trump is swayed more by political expediency, Trudeau says he'll let science guide him. Trump has suggested the Canada-U.S. border should be reopened soon. Trudeau told his daily briefing today that the issue came up this morning during a conference call of G7 leaders.
The coordination and collaboration between Canada and the United States on this issue and on all issues has been entirely exemplary. The reflection that the President shared was one of how close we are and how the status of the Canada-U.S. relationship is different than the status of relationships that we have with other countries around the world. There was a recognition that we will do things perhaps differently than other countries, but there is still a recognition that we need to continue holding that the measures that we have in place for a good while to come still.
Trudeau says he's not prepared to follow an American timetable when it comes to jump-starting the economy or reopening the border. He says there's just too much at stake.
We recognize that there is a need to protect our citizens, as every country is doing. Most countries around the world move forward on restricting travel, and Canada and the United States are no exception.
Trudeau holds his weekly video conference tonight with the provincial premiers. On the agenda, the high death rate from COVID-19 in seniors' homes, and how to restart the economy. Now, none of the premiers seem anxious to ease any of the restrictions. In fact, some of them have extended them, so don't expect any change soon. In the meantime, I wish you all good health. Take care of others. Take care of yourselves. Stay home, stay safe, and stay tuned to Eagle News for accurate and balanced coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Thomas, and hats off to your Texas attire in homage to the Lone Star State. I really appreciate that. And we stay in Canada, where a tragedy due to COVID-19 strikes a small Canadian town's long-term care facility. Sabir Mufti in Ottawa reports.
Hi, Jane. Yes, let's go through the numbers briefly. In Ontario, the province of Ontario, we have 9,472 cases, 1,229 deaths. In Quebec, our neighbor to the east, 15,857 cases and 630 deaths. Now in Ottawa, where I live, we have 35 new cases today, brings our total to 678, with 278 recovered from the virus. And I just want to say condolences to those who've lost a loved one due to this horrible pandemic. In Almonte, Ontario, about 30 minutes south of Ottawa, is experiencing tragedy due to COVID-19. 18 residences of Almonte Country Haven, A long-term care facility have died due to the virus, and 36 have been tested positive. Family members of those living at the facility are mortified by this tragic situation and are struggling to cope. Sue Marchand, a local resident of Almont, whose mother is staying at the facility, had this to say: "I just want to wake up and this is done." That would make you feel great, right? But we're not waking up to that. We're waking up to more deaths. This situation plays into what Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said today, that the surge in deaths is due to unexpected outbreaks of the disease in long-term care facilities, as deaths are surpassing the government's predictions. Dr. Theresa Tam, Canada's Chief Public Health Officer, released the federal government's COVID-19 modeling on April 9th. The projections included a number of scenarios and long-term forecasts, including a death toll of between 11,000 and 22,000 over the course of the pandemic. Even with the maintenance of physical distancing and other disease control measures. The projections also included a short-term forecast projecting between 22,580 and 31,850 reported cases and between 500 and 700 deaths in Canada by April 16. While the number of reported cases, 30,440, according to Thursday's count by Johns Hopkins COVID-19 tracker, is within that range, the number of deaths is significantly higher. Over to Quebec, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is considering sending in the armed forces to help Quebec battle the COVID-19 outbreak happening in long-term care facilities. The Prime Minister is considering sending 60 to 100 specialized trained troops to help, based on the recommendation of the Premier of Quebec, François Legault, whose biggest concern is the lack of staffing. Infections have swept through dozens of homes, contributing to deaths of hundreds of elderly Quebecers. In some homes hit hard by the outbreak, more than 100 staff have fallen sick. Legault had also made a plea Wednesday for the province's most highly trained doctors to bathe and feed elderly residents. In Ontario significantly expands hospital capacity to prepare for any COVID-19 outbreak scenario. Acting on the advice of the Chief Medical Officer of Health and other healthcare professionals, the Ontario government has significantly expanded hospital capacity in preparation for any COVID-19 outbreak scenario. The province has added 1,035 acute care beds and 1,492 critical care beds, and taken steps to ensure hospitals have the staff available to care for a sudden surge in patients. Now on to some good news. From gold coins to plastic shields and hand sanitizer, Royal Canadian Mint retools to join the battle against COVID-19. On April 2nd, 5 employees from the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa left their homes in search of every bottle of hydrogen peroxide they can get their hands on. Stopping at Walmart and Costco locations all around the capital, they found 44 liters of the chemical, which was enough for the Mint to move forward with something it hasn't done since the Second World War: retool. During the World Wars, while Canadians fought overseas, the Mint pumped out dial sights, brackets of eyepieces for large guns, and military medals. Now, in a new generational fight, the facility is producing hand sanitizer and face shields to battle COVID-19. In Ottawa, Canada, Sabir Mufti, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Sabir. That is good news indeed. And over there in Ottawa, what are you and your family doing to stay safe during this COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, we're definitely taking all precautions, washing our hands thoroughly. In fact, we bought some face masks as well, and I got my son a face mask. I'm going to do a little prop here. It's a Star Wars face mask, and we just want him to feel comfortable when he wears one. You know, we're also, when I go grocery shopping, I'm the one who goes grocery shopping. I bring the groceries in. I sanitize everything before it comes in and even enters in the house. So we're really taking care, making sure that, I feel that being over precautious sometimes the best way to make sure that we stay safe, our family stays safe, we stay at home, we don't want to infect anybody, and we don't want to be infected ourselves. So we do our part, like I say, we like the rules, we keep to them, and we want to make sure that we stay safe and everybody stays safe to flatten the curve and make sure this thing leaves us as soon as possible.
Thank
Take
you,
care, Jane.
Xavier.
It's good
Thank
to
you.
see
It sounds like you're keeping them protected in style. Thank you again.
Always.
The Maryland governor states that now is the worst possible time to reopen the state and lift restrictions. Eagle News correspondent Ken Cruz in Fort Washington with the story.
Thank you, Jane. In Maryland, Governor Larry Hogan held a press conference yesterday where he laid out 4 steps that are necessary before Maryland can reopen. Here they are. Step 1, extend testing capability. The goal is to be able to test 10,000 people per day. Step 2, increase hospital surge capacity by 6,000 beds. Hogan said Maryland is delivering on this goal weeks ahead of schedule, so that's good news. Step 3, acquire more personal protective equipment or PPE. 4.5 million NP95 masks are actually expected to come by next week. And step 4, more contract tracing of COVID-19 positive patients. So people who do contract tracing are like disease investigators. They reach out to the patients who tested positive. They interview them on everything the patients has done the past 2 weeks, all the places they traveled, and who they come in close contact with. There's only about 250 people right now in Maryland that do contract tracing, and Governor Hogan wants to increase that to at least 1,000 people. In Washington, D.C., officials continue to encourage people to vote by mail in the June Democratic primary and special election. And if you do vote in person, you'll need a mask. In Virginia, dozens gathered at the state capitol in Richmond for a rally to reopen Virginia, which caused law enforcement to briefly close off the grounds. The rally in Richmond follows similar protests in other states, including North Carolina, Michigan, and Kentucky. Spread out in front of the governor's mansion on Thursday, protesters said quarantine has already gone too far. They said the state's decision to shut down non-essential business is unsustainable and that societal consequences will be irreversible. The original press release said that thousands of people were expected to protest. Capitol Police said about 50 showed up in total. Even though the rally was in violation of the governor's stay-at-home order and a ban on gatherings of more than 10, Capitol Police said no fines were issued. Officers did have to remind people to spread out. Finally, a look at the current numbers of coronavirus cases in the District, Maryland, and Virginia area. As of 9 p.m. tonight, the DMV as a whole stands at 20,064 cases, with 10,791 cases in Maryland, 6,919 in Virginia, and 2,354 in D.C. Number of virus-related deaths was 459 in Maryland, 210 in Virginia, and 81 in Washington, D.C., for a total of 750 fatalities. In Fort Washington, Maryland, Ken Cruz, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Ken. First off, I really like your Western attire. Nice homage to the Lone Star State. And I do have a question for you. Thank you. Washington, D.C. was, one of my favorite places to go, not just for the culture and the learning, but also the great food places that are out there. And, I just wanted to know if a person has no other option but to pick up food at a restaurant, do you have any recommendations for delicious places in Washington, D.C.?
Well, there's quite a few that are easy to access. I mean, the easy ones like your Chick-fil-A's and all that, right? I mean, that's a given. The drive-through, easy, no contact. However, if you're a fancy person, not many people know this, but Washington, D.C. actually has 18 Michelin-starred restaurants. 10 of those are actually still open and are open and available for takeout and delivery. So a couple of my recommendations are, one is Bresca. It's a 1-star Michelin restaurant. They offer a 4-course prefix menu for about $45 a person. All you need is some candles, and then you got a fancy dinner at home. One of my favorite dishes there is pastrami lamb. And then another place that another Michelin star restaurant is Masseria. They offer a dinner for two for $85. So my dish of choice over there is the braised short rib with polenta. So these are a little on the expensive side, but however, I mean, if you're celebrating an anniversary or you're just looking for an at-home date night, these are perfect because these are actual Michelin star restaurants. And I mean, most of the time these are booked. There's no reservation, the reservations aren't available, but now you can get that for takeout. You can have it at home, at the comfort of your own home. Just got to bring your own candles.
Thank you, Ken. It sounds like just because we have to stay at home doesn't mean we have to sacrifice gourmet. Thank you for that report.
Yeah, quarantine and chill in a fancy way. My style.
Without having to wait for lines and reservations. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Ken.
Thank you.
We go now to New Jersey, where a COVID-19 warning message creates a stir in New Jersey's largest city. In Elizabeth, we have El Aguilar.
Hi, let me give you an update first as to what is the status or the statistics here in New Jersey. So far, the confirmed number of cases is 75,000. And in New York, it's 222,284. And that's just for today. And I'm pretty sure tomorrow it's going to go up again. That is why one of the largest cities here in New Jersey, which is Newark, they're very aggressive in telling people to stay at home and avoid going outside because this will help flatten the curve. So 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, the mayor of Newark, Mayor Las Baraka, he announced or he put the entire city on strict shelter-in-place restrictions, and he promised an aggressive enforcement to stop spread the coronavirus. Now, a week after, there was this joint forces of different mayors from neighboring cities of Newark, namely East Orange, Orange, Newark, and Hillside. So all these mayors, they proposed the strict measures for the people, for the residents of their towns to avoid or to avoid spread of the coronavirus. Now, it started last Monday here in Newark. They implemented the, Be Still Mondays, where no one is allowed to go out. Businesses are shut down. Now, this is only every Monday. In that way, this will also help, of course, the spread of coronavirus because the numbers are really going up. So, this warning that the Department of Public Safety in Newark is really grim and really strong when you see it because it depicts pictures of body bags. If we can show it in our pictures. It's a flyer that we took from the Facebook page of the Newark Department of Public Safety. And it says there, COVID-19 kills, don't let this be you. But underneath are body bags. It's a picture of body bags, and that picture is taken from a different source. Well, according to the spokesperson of the Department of Public Safety, the photo was it was retrieved from a website, and it's definitely not from Newark. So if you look at it, I don't know if we have the picture right now. It's a picture. It's just a picture of the body bags with a message that says COVID-19 kills, don't let this be you. Meaning it's when you look at it, it will I can't even explain how I feel about it because it's really strong. And you'll be scared to think about it, to think that I may know that person in the body bag. So that will tell you to really stay at home. It's scary. Kathleen?
Yes, and Elle, has it been determined where the original source of that photo was?
Well, it's actually a photo taken by Reuters from Wyckoff Hospital in Brooklyn, where a refrigerator truck was used as a makeshift morgue. So it was taken by Newark just to show people, to remind everyone that this could happen not only in New York, this could happen to Newark, this could happen to you. So follow the instructions given by the local officials.
Thank you, Elle. A very strong message indeed. We move on to Baker Polito administration, where they've launched a manufacturing emergency response team to support supply production. In Randolph, Massachusetts, we have Julie Ann Evangelista with the report.
With the confirmed 29,918 cases with 1,108 deaths, the new updates from this week that the Baker Polito administration released are that on April 13th, the administration announced a new initiative and over $10 million in funding to support manufacturer efforts to increase production for personal protective equipment and other devices like ventilators, sanitizers, and thermometers. Manufacturing Emergency Response Team, formed by representatives throughout different centers, labs, and universities in Massachusetts, are there to help manufacturers scale their operations in producing PPE. On April 14th, the administration announced that there are expanded COVID-19 response effort reporting data that now includes statewide hospital capacity and PPE distribution. Daily tests that are reporting data, including numbers of positive cases, can be found online. Hospital capacity data can also be found online, as there will be reports listing hospital bed occupancy and availability. PPE distribution reports can also be found online. On April 15, Baker Polito announced that new funding of $130 million to support long-term care facilities, which are to help expand testing and PPE distribution. Statewide, there are 383 nursing homes, 255 assisted living residences, and 93 rest homes. As many residents reside in these places, they are highly vulnerable to outbreaks of COVID-19. There are now implemented visitation restrictions and screening guidelines. The state of Massachusetts and the Baker Polito administration are doing their very best to keep every resident updated and safe in these times. In Boston, Massachusetts, I'm Julie Ann Lou Evangelista, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Julianne. Let me ask you, what are you looking forward to doing once you go outside again?
Hopefully, when everything is settled down, I can go back to the city of Boston, visit the famous landmarks there, the famous tourist spots, along with my friends and family, so that we can get back into the flow of things like how it was before this whole thing happened.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Julie Ann.
Thank you.
We will come back to Eagle News after this short break.
This program is co-presented by Kubert Industries Incorporated, Electromechanical Trading and Services, The Cooling Expert, Vita Herbs Philippines Green Coffee, Masarap, Mabango at Healthy pa. Cadred Corporation, your ventilation and air conditioning specialist. In participation with Rain or Shine Elastomeric Waterproofing Paint, color for protection for your home. Matimco. Matimco is wood. Wood is Matimco. Our Square Variables Incorporated, your trusted UPS supplier and UPS maintenance provider in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. CompuZell Computer Services, ID card and lanyard manufacturer. DN Steel. EMAC, UPVC Roof Corporation.
You're watching the EBC International coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, North America edition. I'm Jane Kathleen Gregorio in Corpus Christi, Texas. Mississippi recovers from the widest tornado recorded in state history. Meanwhile, the shelter-in-place order is due to end next week. Elmarie Gonzalez in South Haven has the story.
Hello, Jane. According to National Weather Service, the tornado that began in Jefferson Davis County and traced for about 68 miles before landing in Clark County was at least 2 miles wide. This is so far the widest tornado that hit Mississippi recorded in history. It beat the April 24, 2010 tornado that seen through Yazoo City for about 1.75 miles. On the other hand, according from Johns Hopkins University and Medicine website, Mississippi has a total of 3,360 confirmed cases of COVID-19, 122 deaths, but no data available for recovered stated at the moment as of today. According to the Office of the Governor in the state of Mississippi, shelter in place in the entire state was issued on April 3 at 5 p.m. and ineffective until April 20 at 8 a.m. unless extended. People can go to work if it is an essential business or operational. Doing grocery, going to see a doctor or dentist, going to pharmacy to fill prescription are also permitted as long as safety precautions are being met. But before going to any establishment, if they are open, the people are advised to make sure to check up on the establishments if they are open. Some restaurants, salon, barber shops are closed. Although some restaurants are open, they either accept drive-through or curbside only. For schools, Governor Tate Reeves said that the school will be closed for the remainder of the spring semester, but the home learning will continue until May 21, 2020, with the school's help. According to the Governor Tate Reeves itself, and I quote, "We are in the middle of a fight for our state. It is taking a tremendous cost. It is asking all of us to push ourselves beyond what is comfortable, fair, and sustainable for much longer. Please stay strong, stay in this fight." From South Haven, Mississippi, Elmarie Gonzalez, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Elmarie. I wanted to ask you, as I know when we were talking earlier, you were homeschooling your child. How has the shelter-in-place policy affected you, and how do you feel about the governor's decision to end it on April 20th?
Honestly speaking, I am getting used to it, just being at home now. One of my closest friends asked me if I'm okay being at home. I'm like, I don't think I can go back to work anytime soon after this. But she knows that I am not that kind of person, so she just laughed at me. But so far, I am enjoying the time being spent with my family. And even though I have a lot of stuff doing at home right now, I'm not complaining because I've been spending a lot of time with my family. It's like really 24/7 that I am with them. So I think that's one of the many things that I am gonna miss when everything goes back to normal.
It seems like for some people, the shelter in place was like an extended vacation and quality time with their family. Thank you, Elmarie.
Thank you, Chat.
We move on to Los Angeles, where Mayor Eric Garcetti announces the Emergency Senior Meals Program, Response Program. In Burbank, we have Valerie Gonzalez standing by.
Thank you, Jane. California currently has 27,618 confirmed COVID-19 cases and 953 deaths per the Johns Hopkins University and Medicine Coronavirus Resource Center. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, according to the county's public health department, there are 10,854 positive cases throughout all areas of Los Angeles County, with a total of 455 deaths. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti recently announced the Emergency Senior Meals Response Program, which is made available through the partnership with For Every Table and Access Services LA. This program was created to expand and meet the increasing needs for meals for the elderly population during this worsening crisis. Through this partnership, seniors will be able to have healthy meals delivered straight to their doorstep. Angelinos who are age 60 and above and are not participating in other meals programs are encouraged to call 213-263-5226 between the hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to sign up. According to Garcetti, at present there are roughly 5,000 seniors who are currently participating in food programs throughout the LA area. Since the safer at-home orders were placed, the numbers of those requesting to enroll in the program is significantly increasing. With this program launching today, it is expected to serve more than 12,000 additional seniors with the ability to provide its participants with 10 meals a week. Specifically here in the city of Burbank, the community is joining together to support the order that was recently placed, mandating the use of face covering while in public. This order was mandated in an effort to slow and to prevent any possible community-based transmission. With face coverings in short supply nationwide, the city of Burbank is calling all sewing heroes within their community to volunteer in helping sew face cloth coverings such as these for essential workers, friends, family, and anyone in need. Those willing to volunteer can create the face coverings from the convenience of their own homes, repurposing good, clean cloth material found in everyday household items such as t-shirts, kitchen towels, or other comfortable cotton fabric to create the masks, which I do have about 500 of them here at the moment. Those willing to participate have until April 30 to create their face coverings and deliver it to the Burbank Recycling Center. Drop-offs can be made Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., using the drop-off bins located near the front door of the Hope Sustainability Center, located at 500 South Flower Street, Burbank 91502. All items being donated will be re-washed and sanitized before distributing to the public. For more information, residents and those willing to volunteer should reach out to the Burbank Recycle Center at 818-238-3900. In Burbank, California, Valerie Gonzalez, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Valerie. That was such a heartwarming news to hear how the community is coming together. And I wanted to ask you, how have the residents of Burbank reacted to this face covering order from the county?
The large majority of Burbank residents have been compliant with this recommendation, but there's like a small portion of people who have not yet observed this, typically while exercising, riding the bikes, jogging, especially on the streets. But I think it is the responsibility for the local government officials to actually provide education to why face masks in public settings are necessary to flatten the curve.
That sounds wonderful. And you mentioned earlier when we were speaking, you had mentioned that you had acquired or you have 500 masks to donate. Is there a special story behind those 500 masks?
Actually, yes. Manny Pacquiao Foundation reached out to me and they asked if I knew of anybody or any companies or facilities that may need masks. And sure enough, they delivered 500 of these masks, which I just mentioned earlier. They donated it was from the Carlos family in Irvine or Anaheim, California, along with the executive director, John Season of the Manny Pacquiao Foundation. And they shipped it to me. And I reached out to the local skilled nursing facilities and some hospitals, which I know are in need of these, especially for their workers. And I'm bring it to them over there at their place of work. And Manny Pacquiao Foundation will also be sending another 500 for me to distribute around here or elsewhere.
Wow, what an amazing gesture of kindness. Thank you so much for sharing that story with us, Valerie. We move on to Las Vegas, where stimulus payments are hitting people's bank accounts now. Find out how yours might be intercepted. Henry Neri reports in Las Vegas.
Thank you, Jane. The much anticipated stimulus payments are starting to come into people's bank accounts via direct deposit. Others will be getting a check in the mail. Whatever the case may be, for some, they may be getting a reduced payment or no payment at all if they owe back child support or child support arrears on their case in their respective state. When the CARES Act passed a few weeks ago and was signed into law, it was to provide much needed assistance to 90% of the American people. If they filed a 2018 or 2019 tax return and met certain income thresholds and have dependents, then the stimulus payment could vary from a few $100s or be as much as $3,000 or more. The stimulus payment is considered as a tax credit from the federal government, and per current federal laws and statutes, it is not exempt for individuals who have an obligation to pay child support and who owe more than $150 in back child support if the custodial parent is on an active cash grant called Temporary Aid for Needy Families, TANF, or those who owe more than $500 in arrears for those cases with no public assistance involved. Individual states send a list of those who owe back child support or arrears with the parameters stated earlier to the federal government every couple of weeks to identify those individuals who are qualified for the intercept of funds. The recently passed economic stimulus package is also included and qualified for a federal offset. Therefore, the child support agencies of the 50 states and 4 U.S. territories can intercept the stimulus amount and pay down the child support arrears. These monies are in turn sent to provide much needed and additional support to the custodial parents and the children on the child support case. In other news, we are keeping you up to date on the COVID-19 pandemic situation here in the state of Nevada. According to the Southern Nevada Health District, there are 2,625 positive cases and also 121 deaths. Governor Steve Sisolak's stay-at-home order and ongoing message to his constituents, stay home for Nevada, continues through at least the end of this month. It is the hope of the governor and state health officials that our state will flatten the curve and to return to a sense of normalcy in the near future. We do not forget to mention those frontline workers, doctors, nurses, and other essential employees, the grocery stores and food outlets, and countless other businesses for taking care of all of us during these unprecedented and unique time in all of our lives. One good thing I've noticed is that the grocery stores are looking more well stocked up now. Not much empty shelves, so it gives a renewed sense of hope. Lastly, our thoughts and prayers go out to the families and friends who have lost loved ones to this disease. I am sure all of us know of someone who have been affected, and we as a people continue to take it all one day at a time. Let us continue to stay and be positive, stay connected, and reach out to our neighbors friends, and loved ones and show how much we care. In Las Vegas, Nevada, Henry Neri, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Henry, and condolences indeed to those who have lost loved ones to this pandemic. And it's nice to know that grocery stores are having a little bit more inventory than before. And going back to what you mentioned previously, regarding the economic stimulus payment that can be intercepted, does this apply to those who are approved for unemployment benefits as well?
Yes, it does, Jane. As far as the people that are receiving unemployment benefits on a weekly basis, the child support agencies can also intercept those as well at a certain amount every week to pay for the child support for the families.
Thank you, Henry. Coming up, a conversation with a dental health worker who goes to work 4 times a week, braving the virus scare so she can care for her patients. I'm Jane Kathleen Gregorio. Stay tuned. This is Eagle News.
Ein sonniger Tag heute hier in Berlin vor dem Bundestag. Ich bin Irene Juliette Arzadon und möchte diese Gelegenheit nutzen, um ein paar Worte mit euch zu teilen. An alle Menschen da draußen. In dieser Zeit lasst uns nicht vergessen, den Menschen zu danken, die ihr Leben für uns opfern. Sei es die Menschen, die im Krankenhaus arbeiten, in den Altenheimen sowie in den Arztpraxen, aber auch an die Menschen, die im Lebensmittelhandel sich befinden. Die Kassierer. Manchmal reicht es aus, um ihnen ein freundliches Lächeln zu geben. Denn die Menschen, die heute am Arbeiten sind, weil sie nicht so wie einige von uns zu Hause bleiben können, die sollten wir wertschätzen. Ihnen sollten wir unseren Dank ausrichten. Darum lasst uns noch mehr zusammenhalten. Sie wertschätzen.
COVID-19 Pandemic North America Edition. I'm Jane Kathleen Gregorio in Corpus Christi, Texas. Our special guest today is a healthcare worker, a surgical assistant at Bethesda Chevy Chase Oral Surgery. Despite the virus scare, this mother of 2 goes to work 4 days a week just to make sure her patients are taken care of. Thank you for joining us tonight, Rose Papa Angeles.
Hi there, Kat. How are you?
Doing great. And, first of all, thank you for all of your work, being there, providing help to your patients. And, we wanted to let the audience know describe to us the nature of your work.
So, Kat, I work as an oral surgical assistant. Our job right now during this pandemic is to help people avoid having to end up in the emergency room for any oral or dental issues. So our office is open, limited only to treat emergency procedures.
And during this pandemic, what changes did your clinic have to make because of the virus crisis?
Right now, because of this pandemic, we are definitely more cautious than ever. We've canceled a lot of our non-essential procedures for the rest of the month, basically until May. And again, seeing just emergency procedures, imposing the guidelines from CDC. We have to come to work waiting just for emergency cases. Again, we also limited the number of people working as well from 12 down to 5 staff daily, including our doctors.
So Rose, you're considered an essential operation. How are you dealing with the patients to ensure both yours and their safety?
Well, definitely making sure that we follow all the CDC guidelines. Masks, gloves, and surgical glasses is a must at any case. I don't even take it off unless I needed to replace it. Constant hand washing and lots of sanitizing. So, just be careful, be safe in everything that you do.
And what kind of cases does your clinic take that couldn't be rescheduled for a later date?
Sometimes we have patient that comes in with fractured tooth that has become infected. Sometimes we have patients who comes in with soreness in their mouth and things like that we have to be, it has to be biopsied. We see a lot of patients sometimes with even fractured jaw. Sometimes they fall or things like that, or just mainly infected tooth, wisdom teeth, and things like that.
And the fact that you have to go to work every day despite the pandemic, how does that make you feel?
Scared, but thankful as well. Scared and having to take the risk to go out there in this pandemic and having to come home not knowing what I have brought in with me from work to home, and how I will risk my children's health and my family's health as well being out there. But on the other hand, I'm also thankful that I have a job. Even though my hours are cut short, I'm still glad that, I'm not one of those many millions of people who's suffering from unemployment. So again, scared but thankful that I'm still blessed to have work.
Yes, and you're also a working mom and a wife as well. And how do you ensure your family's safety when you go home from work?
Oh, believe me, my husband's already prepared with all this stuff. The Lysol, the sanitizers and whatnot, shoes off and straight to shower right after work is what I do to make sure that I don't even kiss them, I don't even hug them until I'm completely washed out. I'm completely clean. So basically I have to wait to get myself showered and change clothes and whatnot before I even give them a hug and a kiss. So.
Well, Rose, you have 2 young boys. How do you and your husband explain to them the global crisis affecting everyone today?
I don't know if they even understand what's going on right now, just as much as the other kids don't understand why we have to be home, why they have to stay home for school. We basically just tell them that, there's something out there that we have to be very careful of. And sometimes they kind of just, shrug it in and say, it's nothing, we'll be fine, we'll be okay. But knowing the fact that how bad it is right now, I really hope that not just children, but the rest of the world will know that this is really something serious. And when they say stay home, if it's not really essential for them to go out there, they should follow what the government and what all these nurses, all these healthcare providers that's essential to be out there, who's actually seeing what's happening. They should take that into consideration.
And yourself as a frontline worker, Rose, do you have a message to your fellow frontline health workers or essential employees?
Now that this is happening, I want to thank them and applaud them for all that they do. They are truly the ones who had to choose whether they have to come home or not just to protect their family from this pandemic. But your job is to literally be out there to help save save lives of many people that's suffering from this pandemic. My message is just hang in there. We need you guys. So please be more patient. And I know that it's hard to love your work now, but we need you. So just hang in there for us and be positive. And again, thank you for all that you do for all of us.
Thank you. And last but not least, you're a mom and a wife. What is your message to families and parents who still have to leave home for work during these dangerous times?
Well, just like me, I think, I don't know, do we want to be out to work getting paid or just staying at home and still slaving around? Just kidding. I think for the moms, I know how much they want to be home just to spend time with their kids. But you know what? Somebody has to do it. Somebody has to be out there facing the battle. And just like all our military guys out there trying to protect our country, the same thing with the healthcare providers and frontliners. You are here. This is your job. And I think it's really hard for us to choose whether we should do the right thing or not.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for all of your efforts, Rose, and we appreciate having you on the show. And thank you for your continued service to helping patients recover.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you. When we come back, get your forks ready for some stuffed bell peppers and a slice of chocolate cake. Eagle News will return in a moment.
This program is co-presented by Kubert Industries Incorporated, Electromechanical Trading and Services, The Cooling Expert, Vita Herbs Philippines Green Coffee, Masarap, Mabango at Healthy Pa, Cadwood Corporation, your ventilation and air conditioning specialist. In participation with Rain or Shine Elastomeric Waterproofing Paint, color for protection for your home. Matimco. Matimco is wood. Wood is Matimco. Our Square Variables Incorporated, your trusted UPS supplier and UPS maintenance provider in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. CompuZell Computer Services, ID card and lanyard manufacturer. DN Steel. EMAC, UPVC Roof Corporation.
You're watching the EBC International coverage of the coronavirus COVID-19 Pandemic North America edition. I'm Jane Kathleen Gregorio in Corpus Christi, Texas. Thinking of an easy-to-prepare, tasty dish that would satisfy your craving without making you feel too full so you'd have enough room for dessert? Michael Hudson invites us to his kitchen in Everett, Washington, as he cooks what he calls EBC stuffed bell peppers. Let's take a look.
What's going down, guys? Hope you guys are having a great day. Wanted to make another video for you about a new recipe that I put together. It's called the EBC stuffed bell peppers. So come join me. I'll show you how to make it. guys, here we go. Finished product. Now time for the taste. So this is gonna get quite messy, so what we want to do is turkey ground. You know what's good about this is that, you know, the mushroom and the bell pepper really complement each other really well. It's a really good combo. Well, that's it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this little recipe video I put together for you. Feel free to make this recipe, show me how it goes, share pictures and video with me. Would love to see your creations. I know during this time it's hard because, you know, we're stuck at home. Sometimes we get bored and we're caught up with all the things that are going on, but really use this time to challenge yourself creativity-wise. And, you know, start new hobbies and even make a dish like this. So hope you guys have a great day. Michael Hudson, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Wow, thanks, Mike. Those look really easy to make and awesome to eat, especially as we love all kinds of peppers here in South Texas. Well, didn't we say leave room for dessert? Yep, because here's another easy to make treat using only 2 ingredients. Let's join Andre Rio Tutar as he bakes the super yummy chocolate cake.
Safer at home, but hungry for a way to pass time? I'm sure by now most of us have already reorganized our homes, watched everything possible on Netflix, and have our go-to workout routine set. So, what do we do now? Why not try learning a new skill and being creative with the newfound time we all have? I put together a quick 4-minute video on how to bake a chocolate cake using only 2 ingredients. Our first ingredient are 4 eggs, and we'll separate our egg yolk and egg white into separate bowls. Next, we are going to take our egg whites and use a hand mixer and mix them until it comes out fluffy. After a few minutes, this is the texture that we'll be looking for. Our second ingredient is 9 ounces or 1.5 cups of chocolate, and we're going to microwave our chocolate in 30-second intervals. Then, we are going to take our egg yolks and mix one at a time until it's all incorporated. Next, we'll take and stir in 1/3 of our egg white mixture at a time until it's all incorporated. However, the correct way is to fold our egg whites with a spatula. So keep that in mind when you try out this recipe. Once that's all done, pour the batter into a greased cake pan. And when you do pour in your batter, make sure you use a spoon or spatula instead of using a whisk like I have done here. Next, we're going to bake our batter for 30 minutes in a preheated oven of 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 170 degrees Celsius. And voila! Our 2-ingredient chocolate cake is now done. Here, I'm going to sprinkle my cake with some powdered sugar. And some other options is to serve it with your favorite ice cream or with some seasonal fruit. And before we leave, we got one last thing to do. And that is a taste test. And with the first bite, it's like I bit into a chocolate-flavored cloud. And something perfect to enjoy any time of the day. So give this recipe a try, and I hope you enjoy. This is Andre Rio Tatar, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Andre. Wow, that looks so simple to do, but so scrumptious. Like eating a chocolate-flavored cloud. Amazing. And just a few reminders before we end today. Wash your hands often with soap and water. Cover your mouth and nose if sneezing or coughing. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Avoid contact with sick people. If you are sick, stay home and call your healthcare provider. Practice social distancing. Keep distance between yourself and others and avoid crowds. Wear a protective face covering when out in public. We stand together with kindness and support for each other to build stronger communities. Let's continue to thank our frontline and essential workers with not only a round of applause, but tipping of our hats. This is today's EBC international coverage of the coronavirus pandemic, North America edition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jane Kathleen Gregorio. We live in interesting times.